Hey guys, welcome back to the Called and Creative podcast. I'm your host, Mekala Stiek, owner of Till the Dawn Photo Company.
And I'm your other host, Courtney Miller, owner of Miller Image and Motion.
And welcome to episode six?
Yep,
Five,
I think
six?
so.
We're
6.
already losing count. That means
Yeah.
we're in a good groove. We're continuing on. It's been a lot of fun. So I'm excited to keep on keeping on. So today I had an idea of kind of continuing on talking about slow season and goal setting for the year. We are still kind of in that season, at least in Oklahoma, until probably mid March, late March is when things will start really picking up again. So before we kind of dive back into spring and back into busy season, I thought it'd be fun for Courtney and I to just share our goals for the year with each other and then kind of get some feedback from each other of how the other would achieve those goals and kind of go about making sure that those come to life for the year. So I think it's really important to find that community for yourself and have people that you can talk through your goals with. Mostly because when you're an entrepreneur, a lot of times you don't really have anyone to talk through things. You don't have someone sitting in the desk next to you that you can be like, "Hey, can you proofread this?" Or "Hey, what do you think about this?" Or "How would you go about this?" Or "I need some help." So finding that community is really, really, really important for just believing in yourself a little bit. Sometimes we all need a little bit of boost and just getting a little bit of feedback, making sure we're on the right path that we should be on. So Courtney, do you want to kick us off and kind of tell us about your goals for the year?
Yeah. So I'm just going to kind of go through them line by line and say all of them at once because, in my
Perfect.
opinion, I think they kind of all go hand in hand a little bit. And I think that kind of leads back to that, since I run my own business, I'm able to plan my life around my business and not the other way around, basically.
Mhm.
Um, And so basically, where I want to start is kind of work life balance. I feel like is kind of where most of my goals are kind of aiming at this year. I feel like I've been doing this long enough to where I feel confident that I don't need to say yes to every single thing that pops into my inbox. I feel confident that I can take on the things that feel right and that align with what I enjoy doing and what I want to be doing and my ideal client versus, oh, I need the money. I need this client. I need this, XYZ. Oh, I'm just going to take it even though it doesn't quite feel like 100% right fit. Um, so I'm really excited to be able to kind of pick and choose some of the things that come along and be able to kind of create some work life balance from that point on. So, one of my big goals for this year is not overbooking myself, mostly during the fall. And I feel like most
We're all
photographers
guilty.
are pretty guilty of that. It's super easy to do, especially during fall busy season, because that's when everybody
Mhm.
wants pictures. So for this, I think my main goal is just going to be um really looking ahead and deciding how many sessions I want to take on for, let's say October, how many I want to take on for November, and then not
Mhm.
going over that. And once I hit it, I'm done. I'm not taking on any more, even if it is something that aligns with something I want to do. I have just reached the point where I wanna be able to, have time to go to the pumpkin patch with my husband
Mhm.
or, go out and go for a nice long walk and enjoy the fall weather. I feel like up to this point, my fall seasons have usually been stuck inside, editing like crazy or running to and from sessions,
Mhm.
and I think that now I'm getting to the point where I'm ready to kinda space it out and be able to live my life a little bit in between the sessions that I take.
It's hard, especially when people, reach out, they wait till the last minute and then they're like, "Oh, I need photos, I'm gonna miss my chance to get photos," and you feel bad and you want to help them, but at the same time, part of them investing in you is taking the time to book ahead of time. Like, that's part of the investment that they're making in you, so it is valid for you to make that boundary and stick to it.
I completely agree. So kind of along with that, not necessarily fall related, but another thing that I really want to do this year is work on my business systems and like my workflows for things and just being like as efficient as I possibly can with each session and how I book people, the back end tasks, even like social media, because for me recently, social media has kind of become, I don't wanna say like a headache or like complete overwhelm, but there is just like so much stuff that you can, watch and like, absorb on social media now that even just like going on it and trying to figure out what to post sometimes can get a little overwhelming for me. And especially with the amount of like sessions and weddings and stuff that I take on every year, I'm like, okay, what do I post now? I've had like 3 sessions last week and I don't know, you know? So for
Yeah.
me, I think I'd really like to develop something that this is kind of how I go about, posting. I am um basically having days where I create content and I plan it all out so that I'm not trying to sit down once a day and panicking about, okay, what do I post today? I
Mhm,
want to be a lot better about kind of planning it out, maybe even like a month or so in advance, but even a few weeks I think would be pretty good. Um,
mhm.
but I just really like, I hate the idea of, oh man, I'm panicking for something to post today. And I think that's
Right.
part of like the overwhelm that comes with social media is I think that it has to be perfect, and in reality, it doesn't have to be perfect, and I think that's why social media kinda has become the way that it has is because people are realizing that, nobody's perfect and that, if it's out there, it can still be beautiful even if it's not 100% perfect, and
Right.
so I think getting to that point, is something I really wanna work on this year. As well as having, I'm gonna call them like CEO days, where I plan out like a day or so a month where I do all the back end work that, it's not necessarily something I need to do every single day, but on a monthly basis. That way, for example, bookkeeping. I think we all get to the point where we hit tax season and we panic and we're like, oh man, I have to sit down and look at my books for the last 12 months and I don't
Right.
wanna do that anymore. So, I think another one of my goals is going to be having those days where I sit down and I look back at the previous month and I go through everything. I see, my highs, my lows, what I did good, what maybe I need to work on, and then kinda
Mhm,
move on from there and decide, like, what things I need to try and do differently, what things really, really worked and that I need to keep doing, and then kind of growing from there. And then I think my last one kinda just goes hand in hand with, like, the work-life balance one, but, like, prioritizing my health as well because I feel like not necessarily that my business has, like, hurt my health because I think it has really been good for me because
mhm,
it has been flexible enough to allow me the things that I need to do when I need to do it. Um, but my husband and I are really interested in trying for a baby here in the next year or 2, and so being able to have the time to prioritize my health and, exercising, getting good meals, you know, making sure that my body is functioning properly is like
mhm,
really going to be something that's really important to me like over these next couple of years. So making time for those things as well and figuring out a system as far as like, maybe I stop working at this time so that I can hit the gym 3 times a week or something like that.
mhm,
I think that's gonna be really important to me, as well as just, like, prioritizing, like, family time, um, because up until this point and I think we had kinda talked about this earlier, you and I, Michaela, but up until this point, I didn't really have a specific day in mind that I would specifically say, "Okay, no work. This is a
mhm,
personal day." And I think that at this point, I am ready to just say that I'm not doing anything on Sundays. because for me, I think that's a very natural day to have be a personal day because that's when my husband and I attend church. That's when we usually like to take the dog to the dog park together. We just
Mhm.
like to be outside. We like to be able to sit down and watch movies and just like be together as a couple. And with my husband working a regular job during the week, Sundays are one of the only days that, we're both home. And so I think that's just a very natural day to kind of make a personal day. And so that is definitely a goal this year is honoring that as a personal day because I think
Right.
up until this point, I've just kind of been, "Oh, like an inquiry came in and they want to do it on a weekend. Oh, I have this Sunday available. Do you want it?" And I've just been willing to kind of book people like whenever it works for them. And
Mhm.
so I think at this point, I'm ready to, unless it's like a one off thing, I'd like to keep Sundays for me personally.
Right. And you aren't required to be available 24/7.
Exactly. Yeah, which I think is a trap that a lot of photographers fall into, is they
Right.
feel like they need to be available to their business. I guess not even photographers, but like entrepreneurs in general too. They feel like they
Mhm.
need to be available to their business 24/7 because otherwise it will
Mhm.
fall apart. And in my opinion, I think that the opportunity to not have to be available 24/7 is one of the benefits to owning your own business, is that you get to set the times that you wanna work or the days that you wanna work, and so
Mhm.
I feel like if you can't get to that point within your business, like it's frustrating, I know, because the first little while, it is very difficult to get to that point, but I think
Mhm.
once you hit that point, I think that's where, like, real freedom within being an entrepreneur comes from, and I think
Right.
that that is, like, the ultimate goal that any entrepreneur should be trying to hit.
Have you seen that meme that's like, "I quit my 9 to 5, 40 hours a week so that I could work 24/7,
Yeah.
90 hours a week," or something like that?
Yeah. Which is t I mean, I would say that's totally accurate, especially if you're, like, within the first, like, year or 2 of building your business because
Yes.
if you're gonna try and make it work full time, that's gonna be the main thing that is providing for you financially. Like, I think you do have to kinda grind it out a little bit because and it sucks because you're the only person that can make
Right.
what you want to happen because you are a one-person show.
Right.
But I think that I think the ultimate freedom within being an entrepreneur is getting to the point where, okay, my business has grown now and I can start to put these like things in place where I don't have to be available 24/7. I don't have to
Right.
always be working. I don't always have to be like within reach of my phone or, I can turn my phone off for a day and my business doesn't fall apart.
Right. I think it's really important that you have made work-life balance, like, your goal for the year or one of your big goals for the year, mostly because I have been seeing so many photographers not only quit, but just completely burn out. Like, I have seen multiple circumstances just in the Tulsa area recently with photographers who have just literally completely ghosted clients, just fallen off the face of the earth, their pages are gone, and I first, I could never do that personally, like, just from a moral standpoint, I couldn't do that, but that's a whole 'nother, topic for another day, but from another perspective, that is the product of burnout, you know? You don't just abandon ship on something that you absolutely love and are passionate about for no reason, like, they most likely have just overbooked themselves year after year after year, and they can't do it anymore, and that's such a sad circumstance or situation for not only the photographer, but for the clients that are like, affected by that, and I don't think you would ever do that, I feel like we know each other pretty well at this point, I don't think you would ever do that, but I would also hate to see you, like, give up on your dream because of, not putting in those boundaries for yourself when the time is
Yes,
right, and you're right, those
exactly.
first few years being full time is hard and it's a grind, but you've been in the grind long enough that it's time to step back and enjoy the fruits of your labor, so to say.
Yes. Yep. I've built it now. I can, like, kinda watch it grow. I can continue to
Right,
nurture it, take the things that really, are important to me and that I enjoy doing and kinda move on from there.
right. I did wanna ask, I know you said you're taking off Sundays as much as possible. Do you have office hours set for yourself?
I currently do not, and honestly, that is kind of another goal for me that kinda goes along with, like, creating the work-life balance, and so I'm
Mhm.
still trying to decide what that looks like for me. Because you're right. But I do need to kind of decide, like, this is when I'm going to be in the office, this is when I'm going to be editing, this is when I'm going to be, doing all the back end stuff, working on social media, planning that all out. Um, but at this exact moment, I don't have any specific time that I'm in the office. It's just kind of like whenever, I'm available, which
Right,
I think is part of my other problem within this is that it feels so flexible to me right now that I can do it whenever, and so I haven't put those things in place, but I think a lot of my goals in my mind, they kinda go back to within these next few years, my husband and I would like to start having children, and when we have children, I'd like to have these things set in place so that I'm not, like,
right,
working, crazy hours while I'm also dealing with a baby, and I feel like I can't be, present with them or, anything like that, and so I'd like to have these things figured out before we start doing that,
right.
which I think is kind of why, like, a lot of my goals revolve around that this year is because I
Mhm.
think that's kind of the direction that our lives are just going right now.
Right. Well, and I love that for you because I was the opposite. Like, I was working a 9 to 5 while I was pregnant, and then after we had our first baby, that is when I decided to stay home and pursue photography full time, and so I was the opposite, and luckily, I did a lot of that, like, grind work really hard, hours and hours a day, doing the rebrand and all of those things. I did all of that when he was really little, and so he was, napping 3 or 4 times a day, and that's when I got a lot of the work done, and so but I have had those struggles of my business needs my attention, but so do my kids, and my business will be there at the end of the day when my kids are grown up, but I only get one chance with my kids, and so getting those boundaries set in place now is gonna be so important for you that you're just gonna feel like you can enjoy them so much more when the time comes. But back to office hours, I was just gonna suggest that because something that I do is technically my office hours are 10 AM to 3 PM. That's when, like, if you send me a message on, like, social media, you will get a response and say if it's outside of those hours, you get an automatic response that says, "Hey, you are outside of my office hours. I will get back to you by within 1 business day," basically.
Well, that's
Um,
super smart.
and do I always abide by that? No, I do not. Like, often if I see if I see that message come through and I'm in a place, say I'm just riding in the car, I'm just sitting on my couch and, like, I have the time and the bandwidth to, like, respond, I will because I will probably be thinking about it nonstop until I respond, and so it's just better for me to, like, go ahead and do that, but I don't have that pressure on myself, like, I know that they sent that message outside of my office hours, so if I feel like I don't have the bandwidth to, like, communicate or be social right now, I don't have to respond, like, they know I will get back to you when I'm back in the office tomorrow. And so that's something that's really helped me is not that I don't work outside of my office hours because I definitely do. I also work a lot like in the mornings before everyone gets up and sometimes in the evening like after everybody goes to bed. But so I do work outside of office hours. However, like I have that boundary in place where it's like I am free to not respond right now if I don't feel like I can because sometimes at the end of the day, I'm tired and I don't want to socialize. I don't want to talk to anyone. Sometimes I go to Walmart after the work day and I see people I know and I avoid them because not because I don't like them or because I don't wanna talk to them, I'm just like, I have no social battery left in me. And so that's kind of where I get at sometimes at the end of the day, if I get a message, I'm like, I don't have it in me to continue on having a conversation, but I know that I'll be recharged tomorrow. And so that is where office hours has really helped me. It's just like giving myself a boundary, not boundaries for everybody else really, but it's more about me.
Yeah, that's smart.
And then what was your I know we talked about work-life balance. We talked about your health. What was your other goal? Was there another one that I'm missing?
So it was really just kind of like setting up specific like days,
Oh, that's right.
with like, systems and like back end like workflows and things, mostly for like social media and like marketing. And then also, just doing like CEO days where, I reflect on like the previous month, maybe go
Mhm.
through my books, just kind of decide like where I want to take this next month. And, you know, if I need to pivot or change anything, I can. I really just like, I think I just need to pick out like a specific, like on this like first day of the month, for example. Like
Right.
I go to a coffee shop, I hang out for a few hours, I go through everything from last month, I decide what I liked, what I didn't like, what worked, what didn't work, and then kind of plan out like this is what I'm going to change for this next month. This is something that I need to do to make, X, Y, and Z more efficient for me. And then also just like I think a big one for me is kind of pre-planning what I'm going to be doing with social media so that I'm not
Mhm.
panicking the day of and getting overwhelmed and then spending far too long trying to perfect, some post that really isn't going to do much of anything for me.
Right.
'Cause I get stuck in the perfectionist, like, state of mind where, "Oh, it has to be perfect before I share it," and then it's like I get so caught in that loop that I never share it because it's never
Right.
perfect in my mind, and so, I guess a big thing that I've really been trying to work on this year is make it exist first, and then you can make it better later, and
Right.
so I think that has kind of been a little freeing for me this year as far as, like, not allowing myself to go down the perfectionism, like, rabbit hole of, "Oh, this super tiny detail," where if I zoom
Right.
clear, clear, clear in on something, it's not 100% perfect. Well, life is not 100% perfect, and so I think that people appreciate realness in things like that, and so I'm trying to let go of that a little bit within my business and allow real life to be showcased more.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I think you just kinda have to figure out what works best for you because I've
mhm,
heard a lot of suggestions, like, when I was in my high-level coaching program when I first went full-time, their big thing was not only planning out what you're doing each day of the week, but also planning out, like, hour to hour. So, like, from 9 to 10, you do this, from 10 to 11, you do this. Well, I had a brand new baby at that point. I mean, he was like 3 or 4 months old. That did not work for me at all, and it still doesn't. I have 2 toddlers. That would never work for me. Maybe once they're both, like, in Mother's Day out and I have, like, a few hours a day to, like, get my own time where nobody else is in charge of it, maybe. But life just happens, like, things come up and things change, and that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur is that you get to be flexible with those things, and so, I don't like the idea of planning out your day hour to hour because that's just like being at a 9 to 5, like, it's just not appealing to me, and also, I'm pretty ADHD, and so, the thought of being forced to, like, work on one specific task for a set amount of time really just, like, burns my hide, I guess. Like,
yep,
I just
I
don't
feel that.
like it, and so, I know that I don't like it, so I don't have to do it, and so, I've heard that's great, but I've also heard, like, giving yourself, like a theme for each day, so, like, Monday, I do back-end work, Tuesday, I edit, Wednesday, I don't know, taxes or something like that. Just, like, figuring out the buckets of things you have in your business and, like, assigning a day of the week to each of those buckets. Um, I like that thought, but also my weeks, especially, like, me being in real estate photography, which is so all over the place all of the time, it's hard for me to, like, be able to dedicate, like, Monday is this, Tuesday is that, and so I just kinda have to go with whatever I have, and so
Mhm.
for you, maybe theming Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday would work really, really well for you. For me, that wouldn't work. And so I do love that idea. And I love the CEO idea, the CEO day that you mentioned. I think that's great if it works for you. And so
Mhm.
I think that you don't have to have too much pressure on like figuring it out right away because you might try something and be like, oh, I hate that. I don't want to do that. And then you'll try something else and you might like it. And so I don't think there's a set rule for anybody at all. I think you just have to do what works best for you.
I agree, and I think that's part of, like, also being an entrepreneur is figuring out what works for you and what doesn't, because literally, I would say that every single step that you hit, like,
Mhm.
you might do it a completely different way than another person would do it, even if they were in your identical situation. I think our
Right.
personalities, no two personalities are the exact same. And I think that people just think through things in a different way. Things just make sense in people's brains a completely different way. And so
Mhm.
I completely agree with you. I think it really just kinda depends on who you are and what works best for you, and you're right, just
Right.
trying new things. But I like the idea of, like, having, like, themed days, so I might give
Mhm.
that a try, like, the next few weeks and see how that goes.
I wish that it worked for me. It just doesn't with the season of life that I'm in. And don't
I
get me
get
wrong,
that.
I love what I do. Like I love real estate and I will be bummed if I ever have to give it up, but it just doesn't work because I could pick up a house literally today in 2 hours.
Mhm,
It's just that's the nature of the game, and so you may theme your day and then you end up going to shoot a bunch of houses, and so it just doesn't work for what I do, but if I was solely just, like, doing what you do, that's probably how I would do it just because I need a little bit of direction, but not a whole lot, and so the theme kind of gives you your own flexibility, your own you can do with it what you want, but it still gives you, like, a direction to go for the day.
mhm,
And then I think the only other suggestion I had was as far as social media, something that I do is I post when I deliver sneak peeks, and so that way every single session gets posted. The only time I don't do that is if I do mini sessions because I often, like, deliver those at the same time.
mhm.
I don't know if you've tried something like that or if you often deliver multiple galleries at once or how that works or if that would even be helpful to you.
Yeah, I definitely think so, and I think that to this point, that's kind of how it has been for a lot of clients. I think where I kinda got out of that was, like, this fall when I just got, like,
Mhm.
super, super busy, and I felt
Right.
like at the rate that I was shooting and editing and delivering, like, I just, like, fell out of that routine in some
Right.
way, like, and I think it was just hard for me to kinda pick that back up, and I think that it was just something I didn't totally love the way that I was doing it. So I
Mm.
think maybe trying something different and kinda seeing how that goes might work better, but
So my workflow is so after a session, I upload and then I call and then I go through my like called images and I just pick like 5 to 10 of my favorites and then I just edit those. Like that's all I do at that point just because it helps my brain wrap around everything. And I feel like if I look at the same session for too long, like at one time, like I just get up in my head about it. Whereas if I just, like, edit a few and then come back to it, I can be like, "Oh, I actually do wanna tweak this a little bit," or, "Actually, I love it, I just wanna leave it as it is." And so, just go do my sneak peeks, and then after I deliver those sneak peeks, I post them right to Facebook and Instagram, and then I don't vlog anymore. I probably should, I just haven't been recently. But you could also add in the blogging aspect. So go post on social media and then you have your caption, just expand your caption a little bit, make a blog out of it, and then post to your blog. That way you get it all done. Everybody gets blogged, everybody gets posted. And then you're not scrambling back of, okay, what did I post? What did I not post?
Mhm.
And there were a
That's smart.
few, like, over the busy season that did get missed that I've gone back and, like, posted during slow season when I didn't really have much to post, and so that was really nice. But for the most part, everybody gets posted, of course, unless they have opted not to be posted, with the
Mhm.
model release, but pretty much everybody gets posted, and if I don't do it when I do sneak peeks, I probably won't post them just because that's my
Mhm.
workflow and I'll forget about it.
See, I guess I enjoy posting more, like, after I deliver the gallery
Really?
because yeah, I don't know why. I like doing the, like, carousel posts. I just
Mm,
like doing that. I feel like it
uh-huh,
tells a lot more of a story, which I don't know, maybe that kinda goes hand in hand with, like, some of the overwhelm that I feel
uh-huh,
with, with social media, especially with like weddings, because I love to have like a really cool carousel where I include like several photos from all throughout the
mhm,
wedding day. And then I think I might just like be getting overwhelmed because if I'm there for 8 hours, I could deliver like anywhere from like 600 to 1,000 pictures, depending on the exact
right.
wedding. And that's just, like, a lot of pictures to go through and be like, "Okay, I like this one instead of this one," but the, like, only difference is, like, there's a slight angle difference or something.
Yeah, so that's actually why I do sneak peeks when I post, because if I wait for, like, the full gallery, I will
Mhm.
just spend way too much time trying to figure out what I do wanna post, what I don't wanna post.
Yeah.
Especially weddings, like, I'll deliver, like, 40 or 50, sneak peeks, and so sometimes it's even difficult to narrow down from there what I wanna
Mhm.
share to social media. Because I think Instagram's, like, 15 images or 20 images
I think
now.
it's 20 now. Yeah,
It's 20 now. It used to be
I think
10,
so.
and back
Yeah.
then, like, it was really hard to narrow them down,
Mhm.
but and I've tried to do, like, the pretty, like, scroll app, you know, carousels. I don't have time for it, like, my brain I love them, I think they're beautiful, but I think that the average client is not going to choose you because of your like, your carousel posts, you know?
Yep, I agree.
Photographers are really gonna appreciate it, other creatives will really appreciate it, but, like, most clients are not gonna choose you solely for that reason, if that makes
Yep,
sense,
which
because 'cause
I
they're
think
not
is,
getting anything
like
out of it.
well, exactly, and I think that that's part of, like, why I made this goal is because like I was saying before, like, I fall into that, like, perfectionism trap within this, and I think that that honestly might be part of it, is that I wanna make this big elaborate thing and have it be really, really cool, but, like, it's not really for anybody other than me, you know? And I don't want it to be that way because I want it to be for the couple too, and I want it to be, like, for my followers, because I wanna be like, "Look at this beautiful wedding I just shot." And honestly, it's probably just me overthinking things and, like, trying to be, like create something new when I don't need to, and
Right.
just kinda overthinking it. But,
It's kind of like, do you do gifts for your couples, your wedding couples?
like, um
Like a booking gift or a wedding gift, like, do you do that?
oh, no, I don't. I've thought about it, um, and I've, like, had some ideas in the past, and I kinda want to. It's just I haven't, like, figured out how to totally implement that. Do you do
So
gifts?
I've done them. I did them for a long while, like, when I weddings was, like, my main thing that I focused on, I did them, and what I found was that 90% of the time they go, "Oh, wow, thanks so much," and it never gets used, sometimes they never get opened, it just gets thrown on the gift table, like, they just don't care, and so and I think it's just I don't think it's rude or anything, I just think it's like, they have so much going on, and they have so many gifts, and they just don't have the time to appreciate it, and so I stopped doing it just because I was spending so much money out of my pocket to make these gifts. So what I was doing for a while was, I did custom candles, and so I would get a candle at Walmart, and I would take the wrapping off of it, the labels, and then I would create them, like, a custom label with, like, their names and their wedding date and their picture, and they were super cute. I really loved them, but most of the time, people never even mentioned it. Like, I would
Mhm.
leave it for them in the bridal suite or leave it on their gift table because they don't have time to open it right this second, and I never heard, "Oh, this is so cool," or "Thank you so much," or anything like that. It just kind of got lost in the transition, I guess,
Yeah.
and I just had to decide, like, I would be better off, like, putting that energy towards planning for their wedding and, like, putting my full energy towards their wedding day than spending my money and my time on something that they're probably not really gonna care that much about. It was a cool idea, it was a lot of fun, but it just didn't make sense, and so I think it's important just, like, finding those things in your business where it's like, "Okay, where am I spending my time, my energy, and my money where no one really cares?" Like, am I
Yep.
the only person that cares?
I completely agree. I think even as a photographer, and honestly, it kind of depends on like what you're specializing in or what you do most. I think there are a lot of areas like that
Right.
within a business is like what things am I putting a lot of time and energy into that like literally I'm the only person that notices.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm getting
And
better at
someone
figuring
guilty of
those
it
things
too.
out,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. It happens, you know?
my big thing right now is editing. Like, when I go after you choose your images, because I don't do full galleries for everyone, I do packages, and so once they go through and pick the images that they're keeping, I go through and I do fine tuning, and that's where I will, like, fix, if there's trash on the ground or if there's hair out of place, like, that's when I do kind of those fine tune photoshopping things. And there are so many little things that, like, I'm the only person that's ever gonna know, and I'm just such a
Yep.
perfectionist, and I've been trying to learn that, like, if they want it fixed, they can ask instead of, like, me spending I mean, I can spend hours on 15 images just trying to perfect every little thing, and most of the time, they're little things that nobody's gonna notice except for me,
Yep.
and
Yep.
so I've been trying to the last time I delivered a newborn gallery, I kind of, like, smoothed the baby's skin a little bit because he had some, like, baby acne, and so I smoothed it and I kinda reduced the redness a little bit, and I just told mom, like, "Hey, I'm gonna leave his skin as is because, like, I like the natural look, like, I like to remember my babies as they were, like, when they were so tiny, but if you want it, edited further, just let me know, I'd be happy to do that for you." But that was so much better than just and she never did, she never asked me to do anything extra, so that was a ton of time and energy, and possibly money if I had outsourced it for
Mhm.
something that she didn't even care about. She
Yep.
didn't even want it, And so just trying to figure out what's really necessary and what's not, like, what's about them and what's about me. Okay, was there anything else that you wanted to talk about or ask questions or anything like that?
I don't think so. Hopefully my goals made sense. I felt like I
Yeah,
kinda
they did.
got lost and rambled a little bit, but
No, I like the conversational aspect of it.
awesome. Well,
Okay,
do you
so
wanna tell
I
me your
don't have
goal?
a list. I just have things I like to talk about. So if we get lost and you need clarification, please let me know.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I really just have one big theme, I guess, for the year, and then I have like other surrounding goals. I also feel like I'm trying to figure out my goals a little bit still for the year. Like they're kind of changing and moving as we go through the year and just like face personal things and all that stuff. So,
I think that's natural.
yeah. And I think that's good too. Like, you don't
Mhm.
need to stick to the same goal. Like, if life circumstances change, like, it's okay for your goals to change too. But my biggest goal for the year, and I hope it doesn't sound too conceited or anything, but my biggest goal for the year is honestly just maximizing profits while also minimizing time. So, I feel like the last few years, I have spent so much time in my business and doing a lot of things that have not been worth my time and not making a lot of money. And so, like, when you look at my, like, profit versus my expenses last year. Um, 'Cause last year wasn't too bad, but I still think I spent at least 50% of my profits on my business. The year before that, it was even higher. I think it was like 60 to 70%. And that's ridiculous. Like, that is not a
Yeah.
good profit margin.
Yep.
And then you have to pay taxes on top of that. And so I have just gotten to a place in my business where I know that I'm providing a good service and I know that I'm providing a consistent experience and a consistent product. And I have so many happy people that, like, it's okay for me to do the things that I need to do in order to maximize the money that I'm bringing home. And so that's kind of what I'm focused on, and so kind of where I'm going with that, I've crunched a ton of numbers and just trying to figure out, like, what gives me the highest work-life balance with the most amount of profits, and so that's kind of where I've come to. I'm going to focus primarily on real estate photography, mostly because that is where I get the most money for my time. Because I'm a contractor, I don't have to find the clients, I don't have to market myself, I don't have to edit, I don't have to do a ton of client communication. I do some just because I have, like, some regular clients who I have become really good friends with and stuff, and so I don't mind doing, like, their client communication, but for the most part, I'm able if there's a client communication thing I don't wanna deal with, I can call the office and be like, "Hey, I need you to deal with this," and they will do it because that's their job. And so all I do is I set my hours, I get booked, I go shoot it, I upload, and I'm done. And I make pretty good money doing that. And so I think I average around like 60 to $70 an hour, not including drive time. But if drive time's over like 45 minutes to an hour, usually I get paid travel too. And so it just makes the for the life season that I'm in, it makes the most sense for, like, maximum time with my family versus maximum profits, and so that is my goal is for finances to be really focused on real estate. That way, I have more margin, like, creatively to focus on just a few sessions, like portrait sessions a month, and so my maximum for the year is 1 session a week, and that gives me the capability to, like, really focus on that client, give them the best client experience, make sure that they feel like they're well taken care of throughout the process of their session and at their session and even after. And so, really trying to focus on just the 1 session a week. And because I'm taking so few sessions throughout the month, I also am trying to only take ideal clients, and so my big focus this year is women entrepreneurs and mothers because that's just where my heart is, where I feel called, and those are the sessions that I enjoy the most is, like, maternity, um, Fresh 48s, branding sessions for women entrepreneurs, and so that's my big push this year is to limit the number of sessions I'm taking, and then also just be able to provide an experience that we both really, really enjoy. I
I
think
love that.
last year, especially, I took on so many projects that were either very low paying or not paid at all for, like, the exposure. I'm out of that season. I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't wanna say that I've been taken advantage of because I definitely don't feel that way, made I made the choice to, like, be a part of those projects, but I'm just past the point, not only in my personal life, but also just in my career that I don't need to be doing those things anymore. Like, I have put forth the effort to build a name for myself, build a brand, build, like, the brand awareness around it that I don't need those things in order to bring in income, so I don't need to be spending my time or my energy on them.
Definitely. I think we've all been at that point at some point within owning or running a business where you are going to just do things for free or really low pay just to get your name out there. And I think that's okay, especially when you're just starting out and you're trying to build your business, you're trying to figure out what you like, what you don't like. You're just trying to get your name out there so that you can get repeat clients. I
Right.
think that's totally fine. I think that's a great way to build it. But you're totally right. Once you get past that point, people know who you are. You have repeat clients. You know what you like, what you don't like. You know what you're
Right,
really good at. You know how to do your job. You know how to do what you're having people pay you to do. I think you kind of naturally transition out of that season, and it's just a lot of work for not a lot of reward on the back
right.
end, you know?
Yeah,
And I don't mean that in like a bad way because there are certain things that like it's worth it to, like, do something for free, you know, or for really
right,
low pay, and I don't mean that in, like, a mean way, but, like, there you just can't, you know, you can't expect people to always just do things for free or low pay, especially, like, when your family is counting on, you know, your
right.
income financially, you know? And so even when you look at it from that aspect, like you have to be able to do what's good for your family as well and be able to make it and survive and do what you
Right.
need to do.
Well, I think too, people think, oh, this would be a great opportunity for you. Like all you're spending is your time.
Mhm.
However, when you're a full-time photographer, that means you're taking that time away from the other things that you do, which in turn takes away income. And so you are spending money. It's not just, oh, a few hours here and there. It doesn't work like that when you're a full-time photographer. Like you have to account for every hour and make sure that you're well compensated for it because at the end of the month, you see the impact of those decisions, and that's kind of where I came to, especially in January. I felt like I worked my butt off in January, like, I worked so much, got to the end of the month, I barely made a positive I just barely made a few dollars, by the time I paid taxes and all my expenses, and it was like, "What the heck? I feel like I've worked so much. Where's all the money?" Well, I was spending time on things that weren't paying me. And so that's where I've had to like have a little reality check with myself, I guess, is that the season that we're in is we need to maximize our money for our time. And that's there will be a time where I get to do more like passion projects and do those extra things that people ask of me for low pay if I want to. That's not the
Mhm.
season we're in right now. Even if I wanted to, we're not in that season, and that's okay. I don't think you have to be I don't think I need to feel bad about it. It's just the reality, so
No, I don't think so either because at the end of the day, your time is still worth something too, you know,
Right,
because time that you're spending on something for free or really low pay, unless you are getting some sort of something out of it, you're taking time away from something else that you could be
right.
doing that could be benefiting you or your family in some aspect.
Well, and I guess on the same note, I have also tried to dial back on my trades. I love to trade, I love to borrow, I think it's or borrow, barter, not borrow. I love to trade, I love to barter, it's a lot of fun, but I have had to get really picky about who I do that with. First of all, because I always provide my full experience when I trade with someone, like, no matter what the trade is, I'm gonna give you the same exact experience one of my paying clients would get. And so I have unfortunately found that not all people feel the same way about trades. Sometimes you get like half the experience for a trade. And so I've gotten really picky not only about who I trade with, but what I trade for. And also like finding other business owners who really want to support you, not just get something in return, if that makes sense. Like, I have been bartering with my nail technician who I did her branding photos yesterday, and we just really clicked, like, on a personal level. It's really worked out really well, but her intention was not to just get photos out of it. It was to, like, connect with other small business owners and be able to support each other. And so, I'm all about that. Like, if you can send me my ideal client and I can send you your ideal client, let's do it. Like, let's barter, let's post each other, like, let's support each other. But I just don't really have the time or the bandwidth just for you give me this, you give me that, or I give you this and you give me that type of transaction, I guess. Like, I want it to
Mhm.
be more meaningful and more valuable than just a a pure trade, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't do that very often, but I do it with some people, and for me, the times where I feel like it's the most worth it for both parties is when it's something that we both would have already been paying for or doing anyways.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
so that I found is really beneficial for both parties because I would be paying someone to do it anyways, or,
Right.
and vice versa. So we might as well just do a straight trade in some
Right.
fashion rather than exchanging money that, at the end of the day equals 0
It doesn't
anyways
matter. Yeah.
because yeah.
Well, that's the other thing is I do a dollar for dollar. I do not do time for time because it doesn't always work out that like, it doesn't always work out based on, like for me, like, I have to book my studio membership, like, that takes out time and possibly makes me need to pay more at the end of the month towards my membership, and so, like, I have expenses related to doing a session. It's not just my time for your time type of thing, so I always do dollar for dollar so that it's completely fair. And I guess that's my biggest goal is just maximizing profits and minimizing my time spent, and I guess it that just kinda goes back to, like, work-life balance, like, I do what I do so that I can be the best mom and wife that I can be, and
Yeah,
not vice versa, and so, I've been really trying to just like, make time for my family and my relationship with Christ and my health, trying to put all of that first before work because I show up as a better, like, photographer when I'm a better, like, mom and wife and follower of Jesus first, and so I have often flip-flopped it, like, I've tried to be the photographer first and the mom, wife second, and it's just not good for me. I do not feel fulfilled that way. Like, I feel the most fulfilled when I have the laundry done and dinner on the table for my family, and I have time and energy at the end of the day to spend with my family versus I spent 8 hours in the office today and I completed my whole to-do list. I feel so burnt out when it's that instead of the other. And so that's where I have been just trying to focus is trying to be the wife and mom first and the photographer second, but because I know that I will be a better photographer for it, if that makes sense.
totally. Honestly, depending on, like, what you're trying to do this year, like, project-wise, you might benefit from, like, some outsourcing.
Yeah, and I already do outsource a lot of my editing,
Mhm,
not a ton of it, but that was one thing I was gonna bring up to you too, is like, what are you outsourcing? What can you take off your plate? And
mhm.
so I'm just not sure what else I could outsource, honestly. Maybe social media, maybe.
Yeah. I would say, like, what things are taking up, like, a lot of time that you feel
Right,
like someone else could do better for, like, half the time that it takes
right.
you to do it.
That makes sense. Yeah, I have thought about outsourcing, like, my bookkeeping, but I really only do my books once a month, and I'm very specific about the way I do it and the way I like it done, and so it's worth my, like, hour or 2 a month to, like, just do it the way I want it because I think if I let somebody else do it, it would just stress me out more. Just because I know, like, the way I like it, the way I want it done, so I've thought about that. I do think I probably need to get better about outsourcing all of my editing. Sometimes I will not outsource because I'm like, "Oh, I'm not very busy this week, like, I'll just go ahead and do it," and then it just stresses me out, and so I need to get better about just sending it and putting that energy towards other things, um, and then maybe social media. I've outsourced my social media before, and I do think it was, like, worthwhile, but I don't really do a lot of social media anyways, and so I just don't know. I don't know. That's something I might have to think more about.
Mhm. I guess it probably also depends, like, where your clients come from too, because I feel like within the marketing aspect, I think
Mhm,
some people get too caught up on, "Oh, I have to do all this stuff for social media." But
mhm.
if you go back and look at where all your clients are coming from, are most of them coming from social media? Because if they aren't, then you're probably putting a little bit too much time into social media
Right.
instead of trying to put more effort and energy into wherever your clients are actually coming from.
Right. I would say most of mine come from social media or they come from, like, referrals or they're
Okay.
repeat customers, and so I don't do a lot of marketing just because of the season I'm in. I'm afraid if I spent too much on marketing, I would get way overwhelmed with more than I could take on right now anyways, because like I said, I only wanna take a session a week anyways, and so I don't wanna pour money into something where it's like, well, I can't handle that volume anyways, and so it would kinda be money wasted, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
So I guess I think the biggest thing that I'm trying to figure out is, I guess, how to find my ideal client and fill them in those spots. Like, I have the spots that I want like, I want 3 to 4 sessions a month. I know that I want them to be my ideal client. I know that I want them to be like a maternity session or a fresh 48 or a branding session. Like, I know the people that I wanna serve. I guess it's just figuring out how to find, like, that exact persona and
Mhm.
finding the person who's willing to invest in the experience that I have, because I do know that I'm a more expensive photographer. Like, I'm not the cheapest person on the block, and so I do spend a lot more time, I feel like, kind of cultivating those leads and, like, getting to know them before they're ready to invest because I'm, like, a higher price. Yeah, I guess I'm just kind of, I know where I wanna go, now I just gotta figure out how to get there.
I feel that. It's kind of
Yeah.
a scary place to be, but, I think that's kind of where a lot of people hit before they really, like, start to really watch their business grow,
Mhm.
is they have a clear vision of where they wanna be, and now they just have to experiment and figure out how they can get there.
Yeah. I think too, a lot of people forget that, like, things are gonna ebb and flow. Like, you can make all these plans, but then something could happen tomorrow and it completely wrecks your plans. And so, despite all of these plans being in place, there might be something tomorrow that happens that it's like, "Okay, we are completely 180, we're doing something completely different." Um, you just never know. And so I think it's just taking those small everyday steps to slowly work towards that goal and then being open to the idea of things changing.
I completely agree.
Wow, we have been on here for 58 minutes already.
That's
I can
crazy.
just talk all day.
I know. I think that, like, it's just so easy to think of things to start talking about, and you can just go on and on and on, and
Especially when it's someone who gets where you're at, like, in your
Mhm.
business and in your life. I feel like, we've struggled so much to find community that understands our lifestyle because it is so different than, like, the typical couple or family. So when you find someone that you, like, click with and they get it, you're like, "Oh, I gotta tell you my whole life story. Are you
Exactly.
ready?"
Let me trauma dump on you, and then we can, like, go on this big long tangent about our
Yes.
businesses. Yeah.
Well, I think that's all my goals for the year. Is there anything else you wanna talk about
Not that I can think
before
of.
we
I think
hop
that was
off?
pretty good. Yeah.
Alright, well, we will catch you guys next time, next week, and this has been the Called and Creative podcast. I'm your host, Mekala Stiek, owner of Till the Dawn Photo Company,
And I'm Courtney Miller, owner of Miller Image and Motion.
and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.